Hello and welcome to this special segment of Left, Right and Centre. We are coming to you live from Kolvale in Goa. I am Tejas Mehta. And the reason why we are today here in Goa is because unbelievably, the humble coconut tree has created a massive controversy between the government versus the opposition, environmentalists and many citizens who are raising questions as to why does the government of Goa not want to preserve the coconut tree. And that's because the government of Goa, which is headed by the BJP, has removed the coconut tree from the Preservation of Trees Act here in Goa. What it really means is that people in Goa, if you have a land, if you have coconut trees and if you want to cut them, you can essentially do that. That's what the opposition is saying, that's what environmentalists are saying, but the government is saying that is not the case. Yes, we have made the law easier because those on whom coconut trees can fall, it's a risky tree, coconuts can fall and injure them and their property. They are only trying to protect them. Joining us here in Goa, we have with us Wendell Rodrigues, fashion designer who has been raising his voice. We also have with us Claude Alvarez, who is an environmentalist, speaking about this. MLA, an independent MLA, Vijay Sardesai, who has been raising this entire issue in the assembly itself. That's where the amendment of the law took place. And we have members of the Goa Green Brigade right here with us. Let me start with you, Wendell. I mean, are you doubting here essentially the intent of what's really happening right here? Because do you really fear that the eradication of the coconut is bound to happen by this move?
I'm not really doubting the intent, because I know the intent. The intent is to clear the way for many coconut trees, as many as almost 500 for a certain brewery, which I'm completely against. And I don't think that this is the time. Since 2008 it has been classified as a tree very recently. So now why declassify it? People are misinformed. They say it's a grass and we'll be cutting grass. It's not that. I mean, you have to read the act completely to understand that what it's saying is that you don't need permission and you can cut a tree if you feel it's a danger. Now that whole word danger is a very wide word which can be applied in many ways. So I just feel for a tree that has been so auspicious to our religious functions, a tree that has been so much part of the Goa landscape and ethos is now suddenly under threat and is going to make the green cover of Goa less, and that is what I'm concerned about.
Coming here, Vijay, because there are provisions in the amendment also which increase the penalty which has been imposed. But is that really going to be important given the fact that, or is this going to be a reality really that the number of people wanting to cut their coconut trees is really going to increase?
See, the intention of bringing this amendment to the Preservation of Trees Act is itself very suspicious. One, because there is a regional plan which is being formulated in the state, wherein large coconut plantations are going to be felled to create more settlement areas. This is the actual intention. So I believe that the act that we have, the amendment that we have passed is not an amendment to the Preservation of Trees Act. Rather, it is the Destruction of Tree Act that we have passed. So it is something which is going to have far-reaching
and you are asking for vested interest?
100% for vested interest.
Like
the BJP is on fund mobilization drive because this is the election year. They want to make as much money as possible to fund their elections, and there are vested interests who are moving them. Otherwise, can the BJP or the government say whether they received any representation from any farmers or from anybody or from any expert opinion which gave them this advice?
Okay, let's put all of this to Shaina NC, who joined us from Mumbai. Shaina, very pertinent questions raised both by Wendell and Vijay Sardesai. The moot question remains, what is the intent behind this? Because the Preservation of Trees Act really means to preserve a tree. Once you remove it, you are removing all protection. So why, especially given that at a time when production of coconuts has reduced by over 50%, when Goa today is importing coconuts from other parts of India, what was the need to amend this act itself?
At the outset, let me say that both Wendell and Vijay are friends, so at the cost of contradicting them, I only want to give you a different viewpoint, which I hope you will listen to patiently. This is not a controversial amendment. This is a much required amendment. To suggest that coconut trees are removed or they are going to be completely, removed from Goa, etc. is all false propaganda. If it is for distilleries or builders, is only part of a thought process of people who would choose to be opposing this amendment. I think that Mr. Arlekar gave an excellent read today, which I wish you would have played out because it would have put a reference to context. He said that the kind of forestation you have in Goa, where a coconut tree is not, when it grows old, the kind of threat that could provide to public at large, and also in the scheme of imperative development, we must be allowed to make sure that that tree is taken away and we have replantation at multiple places. So it's not to suggest that, the bill that has come in as a suggestion is to eradicate the green cover or to eradicate coconuts. If at all, there is a safety viewpoint, there is a development viewpoint, which is if it is an imperative development viewpoint, and the fact that if you had a forest land where you had trees which could have been a hazard to one and all, if they are going to be replanted, then I think that we need to view it in that perspective. And please, let's move beyond propaganda stories to suggest that we are on a money-making drive. If you know Mr. Manohar Parrikar, who has been the formation of this government has been done on his ethics of integrity.
Okay.
I think it's unfortunate to have a kind of speculative propaganda to suit one and all, only to contradict what we're doing. You're welcome to give in your suggestions, and this is something that the BJP in Goa has always been proactive vis-a-vis citizens and viewpoints.
Okay. Let me just get some response here. Claude, what basically Shaina is saying is that the new amendments also have the same provisions of replantation. Also, what she's talking of the opposition coming is basically propaganda, especially from politicians. And the penalty also, which I may add, has been increased. So, is this propaganda really, are we reading too much in the intents of the current government?
There's no option but to read a lot into the government's intention, because this is a purely malified amendment.
But why this replantation also?
This replantation is there in every decision of the government to fell trees. For example, if I cut down 10 trees, I am told to plant 20 trees, but there is no record in the last from 84 of anybody who ever planted a tree to replace the ones that he has cut down. And this is in the RTI we have got this information, that the number of trees cut down is far out of proportion to the trees that have ever been planted, because there is a provision that when I give you the permission to cut a tree, you will have to pay this much amount of government to the government, so that if I don't plant that tree, the government will plant it. What has the government done? It has collected all this money and it has remained with it. But the reason why I am saying that it is malified is because if a tree is going to fall on your head, there are enough provisions in the general law for you to prevent this from happening.
Let me just ask that to Miguel Braganza. I mean, what are the provisions which will safeguard somebody? I got a tree right under my house. It may kill me. Coconut might fall. I want to remove it. Does the entire act need to be amended because of that?
No, I don't think so. This act is amended to save anybody from nut fall or from tree fall. There definitely is a reason why this amendment has been made. Because as per the current act, you can fell 2 hectares of trees in a year. So if you want to fell for say 2.5 or 3 or 5 hectares, you have to wait for more than 1 year to fell it. So obviously someone wants to fell more than 2 hectares, that is more than 300 trees they want to fell in one go, and therefore this amendment. Very ironically, the coconut is not a tree if it's standing erect. If it's inclined, it becomes a tree as per 12A. So I don't know what the government wants to do.
Okay, I'll just get a quick response from the others here. I mean, are you also totally against what's really happening?
Yeah, I think the government is quite, it does intend to cut down a whole lot of trees for their own vested interests.
Do you see any silver lining?
I don't really see, because the coconut tree defines our skyline and also our ethos. So if you really cut it down, you're almost destroying Goa.
Okay. You know, Vendor, what you were saying also, the Kalpa Vriksha thing. I mean, you use the coconut tree as a nariyal, to start itself. And and you use other parts of the coconut tree also as, to cover, to thatch roofs, for the husk you use for burning. Are you seeing, as far as the environment is concerned, forget any government, but in Goa it's been a repeated problem?
Well, it has been a repeated problem, but fortunately we have people like the people in this room who want to preserve Goa as it is, not for us. We don't have any political vested interest. It is just for the future generations. It's for India apart from Goa, and for the world to enjoy the Goa that we have today. As far as these fines and these little alterations that have been made to the Act, I mean, the fine, it might have been increased from 10,000 to 1 lakh or 25,000 to 1 lakh to cut a tree. The fact of the matter is that this is peanuts for a building lobby or for a factory who has crores at their disposal. And also, I understand that the Coconut Growers Association are very happy with this law. Who would not be happy? If I had a large coconut grove and that could convert into crores that I've never seen in my life, I think I would cut every tree in Goa.
But is it like, I've been told even pluckers, you can't find pluckers today here in Goa, that's a problem. So is the industry per se, to be the devil's advocate, in a decline? Does it need some sort of, change in that sense?
Can I just make a
I don't
point,
think so.
Tejas?
Actually, the intent is very clear that they want to promote these mega projects which are coming to Goa in a big way.
Okay.
And that's destroying Goa.
Okay.
And in fact, about this earlier question of yours on the threat posed by a single tree on falling on human beings. The provision is already there. If there's a real danger, they can cut a tree and report within 24 hours to Forest Department.
Okay.
So why was this amendment required?
Okay.
Doesn't justify at all.
Shaina wants to come in here. Yeah, Shaina, please go ahead.
Tejas, I think it's pretty much evident that you have chosen to have a panel that has a unanimous opinion versus me, and I'm happy to take on that argument. But on behalf of my government, I can only assure you 2-3 things.
Yes, I called your MLA. I did call your MLA, Michael Lobo, who is from the BJP, but he has still not come. I called your MLA, Michael Lobo, from the BJP. He has still not come. Yeah, go ahead. Please go ahead.
May I please answer? May I please answer? I just want to make 2-3 fundamental points. Our government is only interested in saving the environment.
Please go
There is
ahead.
no vested interest. There is no conspiracy theory. There is no theory to suggest that we are in conduits with any developer or brewery or whatever story that has been pitched locally to suggest that we are in it to oblige anyone. Please do understand the environment is paramount, and this is not about all coconut trees. This is about the odd spot old coconut trees which could be a hazard, and when one talks of a forest cover, we all know how stringent the laws are. If there is an amendment to suggest that if there is an old coconut tree which needs to be felled, and in place you have 20 more which are going to be monitored by the government to ensure that they are planted, Goa's green cover is going to stay intact.
Okay.
So I would only appeal that yes, we can discuss, deliberate, air our thoughts and viewpoints, but it must be in a democratic forum where you view the opposite viewpoint also with as much openness.
Absolutely.
Because the end result is to combat global warming and to have an environment that our government has completely been committed to, right from the environment minister going down to the local representatives.
Okay, just 15 seconds. Shaina basically says that the government of Goa is committed to ensure that the green cover of Goa remains in spite of these amendments which are made in the interest of the people.
First of all, I want to say Shaina is a friend of mine, so I'm saying this with a big smile. Shaina, I think then you need to have a talk with the Forest Department people and the Minister of Environment, who said just 2 days ago that less green cover will be better for Goa. How that holds water for any part of the world, I have no idea, so I think you guys need to have a chat.
Okay, so we'll have to end this show on that, but yes, it is a controversial issue. Some amendments have been made here which seem to be making some sort of at least increase in penalty, but will that really help? Because the main issue is that the coconut tree has been removed from the Preservation of Trees Act here in Goa. Of course, there are going to be protests tomorrow, but will the government really change the act? Will it become a law? We'll have to wait and watch. That's all we have on Left, Right and Center from here in Goa. Goodbye and thanks for watching.